boy, here we go, here we go.
You've seen people on the internet doing ridiculous things, but this takes it to a whole new level. Today we're going into the world of dangerously overloaded vehicles. Think trucks, bikes, and even trains packed beyond reason, carrying everything from furniture to entire villages. These people risk their lives and everyone else's, all while abusing their poor vehicles in ways mechanics would call nightmares. Number 1. Overloaded motorcycle in Vietnam. In Vietnam, motorbikes are more than transportation. They're lifelines, carrying everything from people to what looks like an entire storage unit. Overloading is a common sight, and while laws exist, enforcement is practically non-existent. For many, necessity outweighs the rules, so these bikes continue to carry the unimaginable. Here, a bike piled high with massive sacks strapped together. The rider, cool as ever in a red helmet, glides down the street as if everything is normal.
But I think this woman took the cake. Check this out. Wide load.
Guy is casually turning his motorbike into a moving truck. Huge boxes big enough to fit small furniture are strapped together like the world's most questionable Tetris game. Someone recorded this masterpiece, no doubt impressed by the audacity. In Vietnam, overloading bikes isn't just common, it's practically an art form. Number 2, overloaded trains. Trains are supposed to be for traveling, right? Like, you get on, grab a seat, and chill till you're stopped. People are crammed inside, hanging onto the sides, and even sitting on the roof like it's an open-air party. Forget seats. Some folks are lucky to even find a spot to cling to. It's pure madness. Hundreds of people packed tight, all just trying to get to their destination. This isn't just transportation, it's a survival mission on wheels. This kind of train overloading is everyday life in places like Bangladesh and India. Look at this chaos. There's no management, no rules, just people hanging on rods, standing on one foot, and calling it normal. Even the train officers are barely managing, using sticks to push people off, so others don't cling to the train and risk their lives. But why does this happen? Overcrowding and lack of proper infrastructure force people to board any way they can, risking safety for necessity. This usually happens during big holidays like Eid or other festive seasons. With limited rail lines and way too many people trying to travel, trains turn overloaded. It's dangerous, but for many, it's just how they get from point A to point B.
Nice dollar! Look at this guy! Are you toast? Are you toast?
Number 3, overloaded ships. Overloading a ship is a whole different level of risk. Unlike cars or trucks, it's not just dangerous for others on the road, it's a danger to everyone on board. Here we have a ship absolutely packed with people heading for a religious event. The ship is so overloaded that it feels like it's defying the laws of nature, air, land, and now water. There's no management, no safety precautions, just layers and layers of people stacked. Traveling like this is insanely risky, yet it's considered normal. One wave or slight tilt, and this could go from a journey of faith to God. Even in a country as posh as Canada, overloading isn't off the table. Look at this ship. Stacked with so much timber, it's practically bending under the weight. It's not just carrying wood, it's carrying enough for an entire forest. This looks like a competition of how many people can we fit on this boat? People just keep climbing on. No end in sight. Then the boat finally starts moving, packed with people even hanging off the sides. When it gets to the shore, things go crazy. The boat starts tilting and people just start falling into the water one by one. Honestly, the boat lasted over 2 minutes longer than I thought. Overloading isn't just about fitting a little extra. It's about understanding when enough is enough. This overloaded ship, packed with industrial machinery, defies that logic entirely. The fact it even managed to stay upright even for a while is impressive, but also a stroke of luck. Bulkhead boats are built for heavy loads, but there's a fine line between loaded and overloaded. This boat, carrying its massive load of sand, struggles against the waves, creaking and groaning, as if begging for relief. Watching this boat attempt to stay afloat is both captivating. This ship was on a mission to carry way more timber than it should have. It's overloaded to the point where every wave looks like it's about to tip the whole thing over. And then, guess what? It does. The ship leans too far, the logs start slipping off, and suddenly, the ocean is full of floating timber. The ship's half sunk. Number 4. Overloaded truck flipped by wind. This truck in Alberta is the perfect example of why overloading is a terrible idea. Like, imagine stuffing your truck so much that even the wind can bully it. The poor thing couldn't handle a little breeze and started tipping over on the highway. Seriously, who thought this was safe? Overloading isn't just dumb, it's dangerous. A truck this top-heavy is like a ticking time bomb, ready to fall over.
Oh boy, here we go, here we go. Oh my gosh.
Number 5. Overloaded tractor. Here we have an absolute masterpiece of engineering, or should I say mice engineering, straight from India. This tractor isn't just overloaded, it's practically doing a wheelie without trying. The front wheels are dangling in the air. The driver's seat is so tilted back, it looks like they're holding on for dear life rather than steering. The amount of massive sacks weighing it down is insane. There's no concept of safety here, just a tractor struggling under the weight of someone's over-ambition. This tractor is hauling so much sugarcane, it looks like it's trying to drag an entire farm behind it. The trailer's stuffed to the point where you can't even see the back of the tractor. One sharp turn, and the whole thing's going down. Here we have a live version of waterlogged Jenga, featuring overloaded trucks crossing rivers instead of roads. Forget bridges they chose water, because why not stack risk on top of risk? These trucks are carrying enough to sink a ship. Yet these drivers somehow managed to pull this off. It's not just risky, it's double risky, bordering on madness. And yet somehow, they make it look like just another day at work. Number 6. Overloaded bike. In China. You guys thought Vietnam was the only country overloading its bikes? Well, you won't believe a developed country like China also makes its name on the list. This one shows a motorcycle that's not just a bike anymore, it's a moving storage unit, piled high with what looks like bags of who knows what. It's hard to tell where the bike ends and the load begins. Somehow it's holding up, cruising down the street like it's just another day at work. Now, we have a bicycle carrying an entire foam factory on its back. Seriously, it's overloaded with styrofoam boxes stacked so high and wide that you wonder if the cyclist is even visible behind it. Forget riding. This is some next-level balancing art. We've got another motorcycle carrying enough to make you wonder if they're trying to move an entire shop in one trip. The load is tied up in every direction, and you can't help but admire the confidence of the rider.
That is the guy riding the bike in China.
Number 7. Tractor overturn. A massive dump truck operator was unloading what seems to be sand. Everything looked fine until the tipping action went too far. Instead of smoothly unloading, the whole container detached and toppled over like a giant brick. This mishap could have been avoided with better weight distribution or equipment checks. Watching this highlights how dangerous heavy machinery can get if not handled with care. Number 8. Overloaded tractor accident. So basically, this tractor was trying to help a truck loaded with a ton of logs get through a rough patch. But clearly the load was way too much for the poor tractor to handle. You can see it struggling, and then boom, it tips over backward, completely losing balance. The tractor flips, and it looks like the driver ends up underneath it. This is not just a small oops moment. It's serious, maybe even fatal. Honestly, it's a reminder that overloading vehicles and ignoring safety can end in a disaster. Number 9. Gravity overload. In Indonesia, this overloaded truck carrying what looks like sacks of goods decided to test gravity on a turn. Piled so high in surprise it toppled over mid-turn. The poor truck stood no chance against its ridiculous load. Honestly, it's not even shocking at this point. It's like these drivers want to defy common sense. The result, well, you can see. Goods everywhere, a tilted truck, and probably a driver rethinking all his life choices. Number 10. Mini truck struggles. This mini truck is overloaded to the max, packed with what looks like a mountain of grass or hay. It's like the driver decided the sky's the limit when it comes to loading. The truck's front is practically in the air, making it look like it's ready for liftoff instead of a drive. The back wheels are struggling to keep the truck balanced, and it's honestly a miracle it didn't topple over entirely. Number 11. Overloaded rickshaw in Pakistan and India. Rickshaws in Pakistan and India are the real MVPs of daily life. These are used for public transport for these countries. These tiny three-wheelers carry everything. People, groceries, even furniture. It's like they've got unlimited storage. Families of 5, no problem. This rickshaw looks like it's trying to win the World's Most Overloaded Vehicle award, piled with sacks that could probably crush a small car, yet it hasn't tripped. And because that wasn't risky enough, there are 2 guys hanging off in the driving seat like they're trying to help maintain the weight, both sides trying to keep it from flipping. Why would someone do this to their own vehicle? Maybe it's trust, or maybe they just don't have another option. Either way, this rickshaw is living life on the edge, literally. A rickshaw is loaded with what looks like an entire household. Bags and bundles are loaded. It's a miracle the thing is still standing. Here these people take it up a notch with people packed inside the rickshaw. Some are hanging on the sides, others squished into every possible space. It's the ultimate test of patience and balance, and somehow, everyone is making it work. This one is straight out of India. A rickshaw, designed for maybe 3-4 people, is now carrying what feels like the entire guest list of a wedding. People are hanging onto it with one foot on the rickshaw, the other just hovering midair. It's moving somehow. I don't know what the explanation is, but it is. This isn't a commute. It's survival with vibes. Iconic, unbothered, only in India and Pakistan. Number 12. Tractor overturn. This dump truck was trying to unload a massive pile of rocks. The rocks were way too heavy and unevenly loaded, so the truck lost balance. Before anyone could do anything, the whole thing just flipped over onto its side, spilling rocks everywhere. Number 13. Overloaded donkey. Donkeys are often used as a cheap and reliable way to carry heavy load, especially in busy city areas where bigger vehicles can't easily move around. This poor donkey is hooked up to a cart overloaded with piles of goods, way more than it can realistically pull. You can see the animal struggling to keep the cart steady, while the people around it seem focused on keeping the load in place, not on the donkey's well-being. It's heartbreaking to watch because while donkeys are tough, this kind of overloading is just too much. An overloaded donkey cart being pushed to its absolute limit. The cart is piled with goods, and the donkey is visibly struggling to even stand. It's barely able to stand, let alone move. And instead of helping, the owner decides to beat it for not doing the impossible. Like, seriously? Take all that weight on your own back and see how far you get. Watching this just makes you think overloading a car or truck is bad. Sure, but at least the vehicle doesn't feel pain. This is straight up cruel and unnecessary. Do better, people. Small donkey is tasked with pulling a cart overloaded with massive cluster bean. Despite the dry, sandy environment of the Thar Desert, the donkey pushes forward well because the poor thing is supposed to. Number 14. Ship sinks overload. Alright, so this ship was packed way beyond what it could handle, and you can literally see the consequences. As it moves through the water, it starts to sink little by little. It's almost like the weight was just too much, and the poor ship gave up. Eventually it tilts, takes in water, and just disappears under the sea, like completely gone. Ships are designed to carry a certain weight, and when you go over that, it messes with their balance. As you can see, this ship even spills goods into the ocean. It's not just about losing stuff, but it's bad for the environment too. Guys, please don't overload your ships. Physics will always win. Number 15. Truck takes a dive. This truck was overloaded to the max, and then gravity made its move. One wrong move, and the truck flipped over, tumbling down the hillside. This was nature reminding everyone that overconfidence and overloading comes with consequence. It wasn't just a fall, it was a full-blown collapse of bad decisions. Number 16. Overloaded car. This car isn't just driving, it's dragging a full-on life support system down the road. mode. Well, it seems someone decided that if they couldn't take the house with them, they'd at least take everything inside it, piled higher than a Jenga tower. Forget fuel efficiency. This car deserves an award for emotional strength. Africa is a land of stunning beauty, culture, and taxis that double as clown car. Despite laws against overloading, some see those rules as mere suggestions, like don't run with scissors. Here an officer stops an innocent-looking taxi. The door opens, and the human flood begins. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Wait, see. Wait.
11 people spill out, sweating and slightly embarrassed. But wait, there's more. The officers pop the bonnet, and out crawl 12, 13, 14, 17 passengers in total. This isn't a taxi, it's a mobile game of sardine. Outrageous? Yes. Impressive? Also, yes. Practical? Not even close. Here's a car from what seems like a developed country, proving that no amount of progress can fix bad decision. The roof is loaded to the max, and the back, packed with storage bins strapped on like they're carrying their entire garage. A taxi turned into a mobile storage unit for anything and everything. Forget the concept of personal space, because this ride has officially eliminated it. Bikes, toss them on. Books, sure, why not? People, oh, let's cram in as many as humanly possible, and then add a few more for good measure. Number 17, boat overturn. Okay, so here's what happened. Off the coast of Libya in the Mediterranean, this super overloaded fishing boat was crammed with migrants and refugees trying to cross to safety. You could just tell it wasn't going to end well. The boat was already super unstable, and the weight of all the people on board was just too much. Then, it happened. The boat started tilting, and within moments, it flipped over completely. Total chaos broke out as people were thrown into the water.
It's completely overturned. Scores swam away from the shipwreck, but 5 people were found dead in the water.
Scrambling to survive. It was heartbreaking to watch. Some managed to swim away, but not everyone made it.
I mean, people kept on moving, jumping into the water. As much as we come closer with the boat, they were swimming and jumping in the water, and we had to pick them up.
Sadly, 5 people drowned in this tragedy. Rescue teams were on it. The Italian Coast Guard saved 562 people from this sinking nightmare. But it doesn't stop there. Just in the last few days, they've rescued over 3,000 people from similar situations. One of the survivors was a baby, but tragically his mother didn't make it. This kind of thing keeps happening, and it's so messed up. People are so desperate for a better life that they're willing to risk it all, even on unsafe, overcrowded boats like this one. This is the reality for these migrants. They're risking their lives, but for many, it's their only option. It's heartbreaking and eye-opening at the same time. Number 18, overloaded horse. Horses are nature's powerhouses, built for carrying and pulling heavy loads, but of course, some people just have to take things too far. Instead of appreciating their strength, they pile on as much they can, cause why not, right? Here, they've turned this poor horse laying on the road with piled up grass on the cart. The load is so ridiculously heavy that the horse literally collapsed in the middle of the road, unable to even stand. Now, you've got 3-4 people scrambling to lift the mess, which begs the question, if it takes that many humans to move it, how on earth did they expect one horse to do it? Common sense really isn't that common. The poor thing is literally lying there buried under the weight of woods. And what's the owner doing? Pulling at the reins like that's magically going to fix the situation. Pro tip, if it takes 5 people to even start unloading the mess, maybe, just maybe, it was too heavy to begin with. But no, let's keep pushing animals to their breaking point and pretend this is normal. Here, this horse is dragging what looks like half the contents of a hoarder's garage. Meanwhile, the owner is just chilling on top of the pile, like a king surveying his kingdom of bad decision. Seriously, this isn't ingenuity, it's animal abuse. Number 19, overloaded timber trucks. Overloaded timber trucks are accidents waiting to happen, and this one proves it. Carrying way more timber than it should, this truck tried to turn the sharp Udi hairpin bend, but couldn't handle the weight. Timber trucks are supposed to transport logs safely, but overloading them is a common practice to cut costs and trips. The problem is that it throws off the truck's balance, especially on tricky roads like this, turning the whole operation into a hazard. This one is a sharp turn on mountain roads in Pakistan, showing a 22-wheeler trailer barely holding it together. One wrong move, and it could easily tip over, taking everything driver, timber, and all with it. Mountain roads are tricky, but overloading makes them borderline impossible to handle safely. This massive log truck from Canada is just as terrifying. Stacked nearly 20 feet high, it takes over remote roads like it owns the place, daring anyone to even think about getting in its way. Number 20. overloaded bullock, cart. These people believe in treating animals like machine. Here we have two poor bulls dragging what looks like an entire sugarcane field on a cart. Seriously, what is this? A Guinness World Record attempt? The cart is so overloaded, the bulls are sliding on the road, struggling to even move. And when they finally stop, because duh, they can't physically move, the owner starts beating them with some sort of stick. Like, yeah, that'll definitely make them suddenly grow superpower. Ever heard of breaks or basic decency? Honestly, the only thing breaking here is my faith in humanity. Number 21. Sugarcane Tower Fiasco. This sugarcane truck situation, straight up chaos. That pile of sugarcane was stacked so high, it looked like they were trying to build a tower. But obviously trucks aren't made to handle that kind of madness. The poor thing gave up on life, tipped over, and dumped sugarcane everywhere. Was this avoidable? 100%. The people responsible were standing there like, well, guess we overdid it. No kidding, guy. Number 22. Car of Clowns. A tiny car rolls up and you must think, oh, maybe a couple of people are inside. Wrong. The car stops outside a house and suddenly the front door opens and out comes a guy, all smiles and waving like he just conquered the world. Cool, one dude, but hold on, there's another one. And then another. They just keep coming. 4, 5, 6. By the time we hit 14, it's like a magic trick gone rogue. You think they're done? Nope. The back trunk opens and out crawl 3 more people. Yep, 17 humans in one tiny car. Number 23. Overloaded buses in India. In Rajasthan, buses aren't just vehicles, they're moving adventures. Overloading is the norm, and here's proof. Passengers clinging to the sides, perched on the roof, or just hanging on for dear life. Why? For bus operators, more passengers mean more tickets sold, but here's the catch. Some just hitch a free ride without paying. Both sides are guilty, but the real risk is the lives on the line. Now in Russia, the story flips. Look at this poor red bus, packed so tightly that its tires are practically kissing the road. Overloaded from the inside, the tires scream for mercy, ready to burst any moment. Clearly, too much is not a concept for these buses. Imagine a minibus designed for 16 passengers, now stuffed with 48 school kids in South Africa. Yes, 48. It's not just overloading, it's defying logic, with kids squished into every possible corner. Safety out the window. This is what happens when necessity meets poor regulation. Number 24. Car crunch. A group of UNSW cheerleaders decided to take on the wild challenge of cramming themselves into a tiny smart car. For some, this was peak entertainment. For others, it was just another chaotic internet moment to scroll past while avoiding life. They pulled off the impossible, twisting and folding into a car that clearly wasn't built for this kind of lunacy. The person stuck at the bottom of the human pile must have been questioning their entire existence, probably praying for no lunch mishaps from the rest. The car, now a certified sweatbox, probably wanted to retire. Chaos, but with purpose. Classic. And that's a wrap on these overloaded adventures. Vehicles aren't superheroes, but that doesn't stop anyone from trying. Maybe respect weight limits, or don't, and keep the rest of us entertained. Either way, gravity always wins. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, goodbye.